If you missed the tax deadline, don't panic, but also don't ignore it. Because here's the part many Canadians don't realize. Even if you had low income, no income, or a very simple tax situation, filing your tax return can still matter. It can affect benefit payments, it can affect credits, and if you owe money, waiting longer may make the problem more annoying. But there's also a CRA filing option that many people have never heard of. It's called SimpleFile. And for some eligible Canadians, it can make filing your tax return much faster and less intimidating. But, and this is important, it is not for everyone. So in this video, I'll explain what SimpleFile is, who it may help, who should be careful, and what to check before you assume the CRA will magically handle everything for you. Because unfortunately, the CRA is not a tax fairy with a maple syrup wand. Quick disclaimer, this video is for general educational purposes only. It is not personal tax, legal, or financial advice. Your situation may be different, so always check your CRA account, your notice of assessment, official CRA pages, or speak with a qualified tax professional. I'll also link the official CRA pages in the description, including SimpleFile, filing deadlines, free tax clinics, CRA account access, and other tax filing resources. So don't rely only on this video. Use this as a plain English guide, then check the official CRA links below for your own situation. A lot of people delay filing because they think, I didn't make much money, so it doesn't matter. Or, I probably don't owe anything, so why bother? But in Canada, your tax return is not just about paying tax, it is also how the CRA checks whether you qualify for certain benefits and credits. So, even if your income was low, filing can still be important. You may need a filed return for things like GST or HST credit payments, provincial benefits, child and family benefits, or other income-tested credits. Here's the simple way to think about it. Your tax return is like updating your financial address with the government. If you don't file, CRA may not have the current information it needs to calculate what you qualify for. And this is where people can accidentally miss money, not because they did something wrong, but because they never filed. And this is the first big mistake. Some Canadians avoid filing because they think they're too broke to file. But low income is actually one of the biggest reasons filing may matter. So, what exactly is SimpleFile? SimpleFile is a free CRA service for eligible people with lower income and a simple tax situation. Instead of going through a full tax software process, SimpleFile asks a series of quick questions. Then CRA uses your answers, along with information it already has on file, to complete and process the return. That sounds pretty helpful, right? But here's the key word: eligible. SimpleFile is not a universal filing system for every Canadian. It is meant for simpler situations. So if your tax life looks like a giant junk drawer, self-employment income, rental income, capital gains, business expenses, foreign income, multiple complicated slips, SimpleFile may not be the right fit. But if your situation is more basic, it may be worth checking. There are different versions of SimpleFile. SimpleFile Digital is the online version. In some cases, eligible people may be able to use SimpleFile Digital even if they did not receive an invitation. That is why checking the official CRA eligibility page matters. Then there is SimpleFile by phone. That one is different. SimpleFile by phone is usually for people who receive an invitation. There's also SimpleFile by paper, which is also generally invitation-based. So don't mix them up. Digital may be available even without an invite if you qualify. Phone and paper are more tied to invitations. This is where a lot of confusion happens. People hear CRA SimpleFile and think every version works the same way. It doesn't. The version matters. SimpleFile may be useful for people who have been putting off taxes because the process feels overwhelming. For example, someone with lower income and a basic T4 slip, a student with a simple return, a senior with a straightforward tax situation, someone who had little or no income but still needs to file to keep benefits updated, or someone who got a SimpleFile invitation and ignored it because it looked like boring government mail. which, to be fair, is basically the national sport of tax season. But seriously, if you received a letter or notice from CRA about SimpleFile, don't just toss it into the "I'll deal with this later" pile beside your old phone chargers. Check it. It may be a faster filing option. Now, SimpleFile is not the best choice for everyone. If your situation is more complex, you may need regular tax software, a community tax clinic, or a tax professional. Be careful if you have things like self-employment income, rental income, major medical expenses, employment expenses, moving expenses, capital gains, foreign income, a separation, a major family change, or anything where you are unsure what needs to be reported. This does not automatically mean you cannot use SimpleFile, but it does mean you should slow down and verify. The danger is not that SimpleFile is bad, the danger is using a simple tool for a situation that is not actually simple. That is like trying to move apartments with a grocery bag. Technically, it holds things, but you are going to have a bad afternoon. If you only remember one thing from this video, remember this. SimpleFile is simple because the tax situation is supposed to be simple, not because taxes magically stop having rules. If you missed the regular tax deadline, the worst move is usually pretending the deadline did not happen, because if you owe money, penalties and interest can become an issue. And if you're waiting for benefits or credits, filing late can delay things. So your next step is not to panic. Your next step is to figure out the fastest, correct way to file. For some people, that might be SimpleFile Digital. For others, it might be certified tax software. For some, it might mean a free community tax clinic, and for more complicated situations, it might mean getting help from a tax professional. The goal is not to file recklessly. The goal is to file accurately and stop the delay from getting worse. Now, if you are self-employed, this part matters. Self-employed people often have a later filing deadline than most individuals, but that does not always mean the payment deadline moves too. If you owe tax, your balance may still have been due earlier. So, if you are self-employed and you have not filed yet, do not assume, "I'm fine, I have lots of time." You want to check the CRA deadline rules carefully. And if you owe money but cannot pay the full amount right away, still don't ignore it. CRA may have payment arrangement options, but you need to deal with it instead of hoping your tax balance gets bored and walks away. Spoiler, it does not. This is the part that catches people. Filing deadline and payment deadline are not always the same thing. That difference can cost money. Here's your practical checklist. First, check whether you already filed your latest tax return. Not, "I think I did." Actually check. Look in your CRA account, your tax software, your email confirmation, or your notice of assessment. Second, check whether you received a SimpleFile invitation. Look in your CRA account and any CRA mail. Third, if you did not get an invite, check whether SimpleFile Digital's eligibility information applies to you. Fourth, decide whether your tax situation is actually simple. If you only have basic slips and no complicated claims, SimpleFile may be worth exploring. If you have business income, rental income, investments, or unusual deductions, slow down. Fifth, if you're late, file as soon as you can using the correct method. The longer you leave it, the more stressful it usually becomes. And again, I've put the official CRA resource links in the description, so you can check SimpleFile eligibility, filing options, deadlines, certified tax software, free tax clinics, and CRA account access directly from the source. Let's clear up a few common myths. Myth number 1. CRA will automatically file taxes for everyone. No, do not assume that. SimpleFile is for eligible people in specific situations. Myth number 2. I had no income, so I don't need to file. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but filing can still matter for benefits and credits. Myth number 3. If I missed the deadline, it's too late. No, you can still file late. It is usually better to file late than not file at all. Myth number 4. If SimpleFile exists, I don't need to check anything. Also no. You still need to answer questions accurately and make sure the method fits your situation. SimpleFile can make filing easier, but it does not replace paying attention. Let's use a simple example. Imagine Riley worked part-time, had low income, and only received a basic tax slip. Riley thought, I probably don't owe tax, so I'll skip filing. But by not filing, Riley may delay benefit calculations or credits that depend on the tax return. Now imagine Riley checks CRA, sees SimpleFile Digital may be available, answers the questions, and files. That return may help CRA update Riley's eligibility for payments. That is the real point. This is not about getting some secret tax hack. It's about making sure CRA has the information it needs. So here are the big takeaways. If you missed the tax deadline, don't ignore it. If you have lower income and a simple tax situation, SimpleFile may be a free CRA option worth checking. SimpleFile Digital may be available even without an invitation, but you still need to confirm eligibility. SimpleFile by phone and paper are more invitation-based. If your situation is complicated, use the right filing method instead of forcing a simple tool to do a complicated job. And even if you had low or no income, filing may still matter because benefits and credits often depend on your tax return. Before you close this video, do one thing. Check whether your latest return has actually been filed. Not tomorrow, not after one more coffee. Check it. And if you want me to explain another CRA topic in plain English, comment below with the one tax question that confuses you every year.